Hi English 102 online students, I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to week 10 of our course. I hope you're all enjoying the beautiful fall weather that we had this weekend. It really kind of feels like fall now. I had the chance to go out and spend a little bit of time in the woods today and it was just spectacular. So if you have the chance to do that in the next few weeks as the leaves are changing, I strongly recommend it. Okay, to look at this week's update, you can go ahead, like always, to course information. This is the place where I recommend you begin every single week in our course. I've already downloaded our course calendar, and I've got it up and running and ready to scroll down to week 10. It's kind of hard to believe we're in week 10. If you look at our calendar, that's, a month or so away from the end of the semester. So looking in week 10, you'll see that we, in some ways, I'll say in some ways, have it a little bit easy this week. But definitely don't sit back and relax too much because this is precious time that you can use this week to start getting a head start on some bigger upcoming assignments. So you'll see here in week 10 that the only assignment you have due is in the Module 7 folder, and that's 7.1. And it's all about annotated bibliographies as research. So we're going to start to get familiar with annotated bibliographies this week because, as you'll see, that assignment is coming up in week 12. Sunday, November 8th is the due date for your annotated bibliography, which is worth 20% of your course grade. So I would definitely use this week to work on 7.1, but in addition to that, start to work on the bibliography too. So I'm going to tell you about assignment 7.1, but I'm also going to explain to you what the annotated bibliography is all about, so you can get a head start on that this week. I will be going through your critical response essay drafts and giving comments to those. You won't get comments from a peer on this one. But look out for my comments all throughout this week, because once I've given you my comments, you can go ahead and start revising that too. That one is due Sunday, November 1st. So, you can kind of decide on the order of things. Definitely go ahead and get 7.1 done. You might go ahead and start to do some work for the annotated bibliography due in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks actually, from today. And then once you have the comments for the critical response essay, you could go ahead and start working on those too by the end of this week. So that kind of gives you an outlook for the next 3 weeks or so. Let's go ahead and look at Module 7, and you'll see all the materials that are included there so you kind of know how to proceed. Okay, so Module 7 is called Synthesizing Research, the Annotated Bibliography. Synthesizing is just a fancy word for putting everything together. Because in the beginning of the semester, if we go back and look at all the previous modules, okay, you explored your curiosity, you kind of decided what topics you were passionate about, you got some feedback about that, and you've been developing that ever since that time, from my feedback, from your classmates' feedback, and I think most of you are pretty well settled on a research topic by this time. Okay, in modules 3 and 4 is where we started to look at how you develop expertise and how you collect information that helps you develop that expertise. So by now, you've hopefully collected a lot of sources of information from various places, from databases, from the web, documentary films, Google Scholar searches. You tried all different things. And then last week, or a couple of weeks ago, you started to compile resources into MLA or APA works cited or references lists. So you practiced with that because in the critical response essay, you needed to include an MLA or an APA citation of the article you were reviewing, depending on which style you want to work with this semester. And then this week, I'm going to be looking at those critical response essays and see how it's going with responding to your first academic source about your research topic. Okay, so now moving into our bibliography is where we're really going to start to pull different things together. So the first of the assignment links you're going to see here is Major Assignment 3, Annotated Bibliography. This is the one that's going to be due Sunday, November 8th. That's the guidelines for that. We'll come back to that in just a few moments. The first thing we're going to look at is 7.1, Annotated Bibliographies as Research. Okay, so in case you haven't done one of these before, an annotated bibliography is just a collection of sources that you have up to this point about your research topic. Hopefully there are sources that are going to end up in your final problem solution research report. You might use some of them, you might use all of them, you might even use none of them. Hopefully that won't be the case because you want all of your hard work and research to go somewhere at this point. So you're kind of collecting all the sources that you've gathered at this point. Look back at the research notes chart you did in Module 5. This is a great place to mine for potential sources. You already have some great sources in there. You have notes that you took on those sources. This is now going to make the job of the annotated bibliography that much easier. You'll be so happy that you have that research notes chart. So again, that was back in Module 5, so go back and look for that because you're going to need it for this assignment. So an annotated bibliography, like I said, is kind of a collection of sources like magazine articles, newspaper articles, academic journals, reliable websites, TED Talks, documentary films, lots of different sources that you could build into this. So what I want you to do first is kind of explore around on the web to see if you can find any annotated bibliographies that already exist about your topic. And this is a great source of research in and of itself. So as I tell you here, as you've learned, writing an annotated bibliography is an excellent way to pull together a list of resources on your research topic and begin to see how they will work together in your final research paper. That's the synthesis part. Okay, however, annotated bibliographies are very useful research tools in and of themselves because if you find one on your topic, you can often find sources that that writer used and use them for yourself. Okay, this is a great thing about bibliographies. So for this short assignment, do some internet research to find an annotated bibliography in your research topic area. So as an example, if I'm writing about online learning for my final research paper, I could do a Google search using the keywords online learning annotated bibliography. Okay, you could even make it more specific by adding MLA or APA to your search or look for specific file types like .pdf or .doc. Once you find a good bibliography, attach it to this assignment or include a web link to it. Also, I would like you to explain in a few sentences how easy or difficult it was to find a bibliography and whether it might have some useful resources for your own research project. So, a paragraph of 3 to 5 sentences or so. If you really have a lot of trouble finding a bibliography in your topic area, just get in touch with me and we can try to work on it together. I've done that with a few of you already for other assignments. We've had some good email conversations that way. And of course, come to virtual office hours if you need help walking through this. Okay, so from 7.1, I'm going to go ahead and open up the guidelines for the annotated bibliography itself. This is what you're going to be moving on to by November 8th. Okay, so we'll open up this document and we'll take a peek at it. Okay, so as it tells you here, the first section is just explaining to you what an annotated bibliography is. And, it's just a bibliography. It's a list of sources that one has used for researching a topic. So bibliographies can have different names. If you're working in APA style, it's called references. If you're working in MLA style, it's called works cited. Okay, so a bibliography usually just includes the bibliographic information. But an annotated bibliography expands on this a little bit. It includes a summary and evaluation of each of the sources. So in your annotation, you'll have your citation of the source, and you'll see an example of this soon. And along with your citation, you're going to have an annotation that summarizes, assesses, and reflects on the source. So summarizing, you already have learned about this and practiced it in your critical response essays. What are the main arguments? What is the point of this book or article? What topics are covered? If someone were to ask you what it's about, what would you tell them? Okay, you're assessing the source. Okay, is it useful for you? How does it compare with other sources in your bibliography? Maybe it complements another source, or maybe it shows an opposing view, or maybe it supports another of your sources. Does the information seem reliable, biased, objective? What do you think the goal of it is? And once you've summarized and assessed, then you'll need to ask how it fits into your research. How is it helpful to you? How does it help you shape your argument? How are you going to use it in your research project? Has it changed you in any way, changed your thinking? Hey, your audience will be me and a general academic audience. It's not something we'll do a peer review of either, because this is really an individual kind of aspect of your research process. Under purpose, I explain why you should write an annotated bibliography, and I won't read this word for word for you, but I'll just kind of give you a general overview. The first reason is just to learn about your topic. Okay, you've been doing this for the last few weeks with all your research assignments. Okay, and the other reason is to help other researchers and extend your own research. So when you compile a bibliography, if you were to ever publish it someday, other people could learn from your research, and that helps you collect more information for your own topic, your own research. And I've given you a link here to a professional annotated bibliography. It's not an MLA or APA format, but you can see how this would look like if you were a professional scholar, an academic in a certain field. Okay, the requirements for your bibliography. You have 6 sources in total that need to be in your bibliography. Okay, so the first of your sources would be one article from an academic or scholarly journal, because I want to make sure you're using the databases and you're taking advantage of the services our library offers. One well-researched newspaper article, one in-depth article from a reputable magazine. These can come from the internet, or you can find them in databases too. 3 other credible and scholarly sources of your choosing. So it could be a printed book, an ebook, a book chapter, a documentary film, a blog post, TED Talk, website from a credible organization or author. There are lots of options there. And in this chart, I've given you some suggestions of different places where you could look. The journal examples, I just had to choose a few. Obviously, there are thousands of journals that you could research for your topics. You don't have to limit yourself to those. You might not even use any of those. So those are simply examples. The newspaper and magazine articles, you could definitely start with those titles and just see what you find, but you can expand it to other newspaper and magazine titles that you're familiar with, or just limit your search in the databases to a newspaper or magazine article, and that will give you other options too. Okay, so as far as organization, you're going to start every entry in your annotated bibliography with citation information. So make sure you're using MLA 8 or APA 7 guidelines to format the citations. I noticed in your 5.1 assignments for MLA and APA that some of you were mixing up rules from the 2 styles, or you were using rules from old editions. Maybe things you found on the internet or what you remembered from high school. And the rules have definitely changed in recent years, so you want to make sure you're using the most current ones. You're going to arrange your individual entries in alphabetical order according to the bibliographic information format, so look at the last name or the title of the source you're using. Then after the citation comes the annotation. So you should write a paragraph of about 100 to 125 words that's going to summarize, assess, and reflect on that source, just like I explained above. Okay, it will be really important to look at some sample bibliographies, and I've included links to a couple of those here for both MLA and APA style. And I've also given you a link from Purdue OWL that has good information about annotations as well. So if you go back to our Module 7 folder, I've got an example of an MLA annotated bibliography. And as you can see, it's well formatted as an MLA document. It's got annotated bibliography here at the top, and the writer has a citation and an annotation for every one of her sources. All the citations have hanging indents, all the text is double-spaced. She's got everything in the correct format, and her annotations are well written as well. They include what they need to include. And for APA, I just went ahead and included this link that has, it's not like a fully compiled annotated bibliography, but it's kind of gotten it broken down into different sections, how you write an annotation, formatting a bibliography, and it also gives you one sample annotation to take a look at here with references at the top. They have it in bold here, but you don't need to do that. Actually, I've never seen references bolded in any other document, so that's kind of strange, but it's a good resource otherwise. All right, so back to our Module 7 folder. Basically what you're doing this week is working on 7.1, just getting familiar with annotated bibliographies out there on the web, seeing how other people have approached them, especially professionals in their fields. And then with the time that you have remaining, because that assignment won't take you very long at all, then you can go ahead and start to work on your annotated bibliography. You've got 3 weeks to work on it. Start this week. If you do little by little, an annotation here, an annotation there, like if you did 2 of them this week, 2 next week, and 2 the following week, you can manage this very well. Once the critical response comments come out, then you'll be able to start to work on revising that essay as well. So that's pretty much everything we have for this week. So take advantage of this time to get a good head start on that annotated bibliography assignment. Any questions, concerns that you have, don't hesitate to let me know. I'll be glad to help you in virtual office hours or by email. Well, have a great week.